Hello, welcome to Divine Honey Podcast. I'm your host, your friend Tamika Johnson. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This show is about human experiences. This includes thought provoking conversations and, most importantly, our Divine Honey guest sharing their stories about love, life, journey, and purpose. If you're watching live or you watch on the replay, you feel inspired, please drop a comment, questions. Y'all know that engagement is always welcomed here on this channel. So, welcome. Welcome. I want to introduce my guest for today. It's Corey Holland. Um, Corey is going to be joining in, sharing with us his insight, his journey on mental health and love. How are you doing, Corey?
Doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on your platform on this podcast. I'm very excited.
Of course. Is there anything you want to share about yourself with the audience?
Um, to me, I feel like I'm just a regular hardworking person. um, Nothing very special about it. I um, grew up actually from Detroit, Michigan. I live in Arizona right now. Um, I wouldn't say I had a hard life, but for the most part, I had an average life when it comes to a lot of things that the average person goes through. And I've learned from a lot of things in life, and I've taken some things from other people and ran with it, which helped me, become a better person in life. So I think that's all I got for me as my intro.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And as you guys know, we kind of been on a little mental journey, like topics lately, which is great with going into the end of the year, the holidays coming and then entering into that New Year's and having that woulda, coulda, shoulda, or not where I'm supposed to be. But remember, we're here to encourage and inspire. So, Corey, why did you choose this topic of mental health and love? Last week we did, 2 weeks ago, we did men and mental health, but now we're
Mhm.
narrowing down on the love part.
Well, if you look at today's world, from my perspective, I see we lack love in a lot of aspects. From when it comes to just friends, family, or just meeting people in general. Like this world has lost love, and from a male's perspective, um, we tend to not really love ourselves, and that comes with a lot of mental issues. And I feel like if we were able to get a hold of our mental and able to really work it out and understand that we can love and we can spread love to everybody and hopefully make a better village, I should say, or community.
Mhm.
um so that's why I think mental love is important. I mean, mental health is important when it comes to love, because that's major. We
Yeah.
definitely need to get our mentals together.
One thing I remember we kind of discussed like the importance of like knowing yourself when entering like romantic relationships or being able to show love to our friends, whoever, but
Hmm.
really knowing ourselves. And what have you experienced? What experience have you come across in not knowing yourself?
Ooh, that's a good one. um I would say early on in life, early 20s. I grew up with the mindset of just rolling with the punches.
Mhm.
And now that I'm older, um, I felt like that was kind of the wrong way about doing that. I feel like you need to, it's about chess. It's chess in life. I should put it like that.
Mhm.
You're supposed to always think about your next move. You should always think about, you know, where do you want to go? Who do you want to love? Why do you love this person? Um, so back to my personal experience, I believe it was, um, hmm, threw me for a loop on that one. I think it was more so of realizing who it is that I want to be, like being honest to myself, really. Not
Mhm.
trying to please other people, just being honest to myself and knowing that staying true to yourself and really being who you want to be is who you want to be in life. Put it like that.
Yeah. Do you think knowing yourself? When you know yourself, you trust yourself, like trust your decisions, especially like in just who you're going to associate with. Like you can trust that thing inside of you, like this isn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to trust your gut. Important. And that's another thing. Like we're always at this fast pace in life. Like we're always moving. This world is every day is moving faster and faster and faster. And to some people, if you're going too fast and you got too much going on, it'll drive you crazy. And
Oh,
to be able to take that time to reflect on yourself and to just really think about what you're going to do, what's your next
mhm.
move, it's what a lot of people need to just realize. Like, let me sit down, let me take a moment, let me collect my thoughts and move accordingly.
And knowing what's important to you, like understanding your core values, especially when we're walking into relationships. I mean, we're quite older now, but think when you were younger, getting
Hmm.
into relationships, you don't know who you are, you don't know what's important to you, you may not understand what's of value to you. And when you don't know those things, you get in these situations, and that's
Hmm.
when you might not even realize you have mental health issues or
Oh yeah,
trauma that you haven't resolved, and now you're being triggered because
yeah.
yes.
You definitely, that's something that you definitely or some people don't really know until they either seek help through counseling or they speak to somebody who has a little bit of wisdom in that area. Um,
Uh,
but a lot of people do get into, let's say, relationships and they don't know who they really are.
mm,
And they go years and years of believing this is who they are until a breaking point happens. And they're so confused as to, you know, why they're being pulled one way and they believe that the way
mhm,
they've been living is the correct way. And it's like, no, you're at a point to where you need to realize, like, okay, if you like this and this is who you want to be, then you need to be that person. And you need to stop really lying to yourself because you're messing up your mental on that behalf. And from doing that, it's not allowing you to open up and properly love the next person who needs to be loved, whether it's a family, a friend, or,
mhm.
random person.
Yeah. And that goes with just communication, being able to, we keep a lot of stuff in. We don't say what we mean, and we don't mean what we
Especially
say.
men.
Yeah, like like we have to communicate, and but I think communication, like, sometimes has to be learned. I didn't grow up learning how to communicate properly. I grew up people around me, they said whatever they wanted to say and how they wanted to say it. And when that's happening when you're small, it can do things to you. Like, oh, okay. It caused me to be shy for a long time
Hmm.
because I didn't say anything right. I didn't do anything right. No one was, so it shaped me as a young child. So I think I didn't really learn how to properly communicate till like going into counseling. And it's still hard. It's still sometimes hard for me to address things.
And that's new to me hearing that actually. That's actually new
Mhm,
because I look at my mom's side and my dad's side. And both sides were very open.
mhm,
Um, and they said whatever they wanted to say and how they wanted to
mhm,
say it. So when I grew up, I took that as just them being real and just being honest
mhm,
behind, the things that they were saying. Um, so I never really let it affect how it was said,
mhm,
to me as a kid or even as an adult. Um, but now that you said, that kind of shaped you in a way to where it was hard for you to really was it open up or about certain things or receive a lot of things and how it was said.
mhm.
That was new to me. Like I never really knew that to be effective to somebody, I should say.
Yeah,
So
'cause I grew up too. My people were like very like, I'm like, dang. Like one time I was like, you're musty as hell. I was like a kid. I was like in front of everybody. I was like, damn. I
oh
was
well, that's
embarrassed.
embarrassing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like
No,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's
So I
in
was
front of
like,
everybody. Like
I
in
was
front of
like,
everybody as in like family or friend, like just random people.
like, it was like my whole family I was embarrassed. So I was always embarrassed. But just but then sometimes receiving information and communication, sometimes we do, and I say this now.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to look past the offense. So I'm better about that. Like even if I do have people in my life that are very blunt, but I might take it like, but then I choose to look past the offense because
Mhm.
is there any truth to it? So I can
Right.
be better.
Mhm.
So
And
sometimes it's,
that's the
yeah.
thing, because like, were you really funky?
I well in that case I think I was sweating.
So was the truth, you
It
know?
was the truth. It was the truth. But like
It was just how it was
embarrassed.
delivered. Yeah, it was how it was
Yes.
delivered. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
that's
just
what
a
I'm learning. And that's what I'm that's something that I've been working on, I should say, is the when it comes to I'm good when it comes to like friends and people that associates or people that I don't know. Like I'm not gonna walk past you and say,
mhm.
"Oh, you're funky," and I don't really know you. In that aspect, I might as well, I might just keep it pushing. But for instance, some people, if you're talking to somebody and that person has a booger in their nose, will you tell them?
Yes.
You will? Okay, I know a lot of people who
No,
look
maybe
past
they'll
it.
come walk around like that, but I would just be like, "Hey," I would just be discreet about it. I'm like, "Oh, you got girl, get that." But I would just be like, "You got a little something."
But like you'd be surprised. You ask that question to a lot of people, and they'd be like, "No," like because they feel like, "Oh, I'm going to embarrass that person." And I'm like, you
Mhm,
don't have to say it loud. You could just, like you said, signal it, whisper it to them. But I say that to say, when it comes to family, because I was raised in a household and a family to where it was really no filter. It was like,
mhm,
I'm gonna give you the raw. That's just how I was groomed
yeah,
and raised. So that when I talk to, my kids, they're a little
mhm.
sensitive now. They're different. Kids is different nowadays. And so
Do you
um
adjust to that
I
though?
have to adjust to it.
Okay.
My son, he's one of the people who, or my son, he doesn't really take tough criticism. And me being a father, I'm like, I gotta be tough on my son.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm learning to adjust to that. And that's goes along with the mental as well, because I didn't have that, so now I have to learn it. I have to be able to correct myself in certain situations and be like, all right, look, your son is not going to reply or respond the way you want him to respond with how you're going to, act. So sit down, take it back to the drawing board and think about how you're going to really, you know, relay this message to him. Like you got to do it in a way to where he will understand.
Where
And
they
so
yep, where they can receive.
there you
I
go.
want
And
you to
so,
receive it. I know this person will not receive it well if I say it
mhm,
this way, but in my heart, I want them to get what I'm saying. So I'm willing to change my vocabulary. I can still be me. People think, "Oh, you're trying to change." It's like you can still be you. You can still if a person needs a little bit more kindness,
mhm, you got
sometimes
to.
there's sometimes where I need it direct. Like you messed up and that ain't cool. Like I need it sometimes straight up.
Just sometimes straight up. And then, eh,
You
no,
slip
I think it's one of those situations to where you really
yeah,
just
the
have
person
to,
gotta know you.
you got to know the person and you got to kind of
For
just
real.
know the situation and
Yes,
what's going on.
100%. Because I got some
Um,
people they know and they're like, you know what, sis, I just gotta say it. I gotta say it. I love you. They'll start with I love you, but
you know it's coming.
yeah,
You know it's coming.
oh man. So another thing we're talking about, like discovering your mental health issues when you get in these, like especially deep romantic relationships. And I talk a lot about friendships too, because society puts a lot of emphasis on romantic relationships, but your friendships are important too. They help you navigate, and those can be complicated relationships too.
Yeah.
And even in friendships and romantic relationships, two people can come together and
Mhm.
they are triggered. They have different backgrounds and they get together and they're bringing out the worst in each other, and or one's depressed, one's not and doesn't understand the other person.
Mhm.
And how do
Yeah.
you navigate?
Well, if you're looking at it from more so of a, if you're in a relationship, um, we could take it to a marriage because relationships, I
Mhm,
think, is at a point to where relationships should really be like the honeymoon stage because everything is
mhm,
fresh. You start to learn people. So if it's played right, you know, you wouldn't have to worry about going through what you just asked me about in the marriage, but
mhm,
that's in the perfect world.
right.
Um, but what happens is that two people meet each other, they get together, and they have this wonderful honeymoon stage to where everything is great. They hanging out, never had anything like you, and then you get married, and then everybody knows when you get married. Well, not everybody, but men knows that when you get married, the lady changes. um,
Okay. Is that a general blanket statement or can both people change?
I say it's a general blanket statement, and the reason why I say
Really?
that is because okay, not to cross everybody changes. That's growth in life. Every day
Okay.
everybody is different. So we're gonna keep that as the borderline right there. Your women are gonna change, men are gonna change. But for the most part, when I explain the change, I mean in some way, you know, women get to a point to where they're very possessive in a way. So like,
Mhm,
okay, I got you. We married, got the ring on you. It's like now I know I got you. We were locked in here now. It is what it is. So the true me could come out now, and not even really trying to get deep into that part because it's getting really off the question of what you asked.
mhm,
Um, but as to two people getting into a marriage and you know one person not really knowing who they are and not understanding who they really
mhm,
want to be in life, if you have a person that does and that definitely understands what they want to be in life, if that person is wanting to elevate and wanting to, get what you build and start a legacy for your kids and your grandkids and all that stuff, that other person has to have a clear slate, a clean slate as well. Like they have to
mhm,
have no baggage. They have to be on the same page. So if y'all going through life and one is steady trying to go up and the other one wants to go up, but they have so much holding them back, now you're at a
mm,
conflict. You're at a conflict now. And
I agree.
that is what I mean by when the beginning getting to really know who that person is and understanding your mental and that person's mental because that person might want to be on the same page as you and you might want to be on the same page as that person and y'all think y'all are, but when it's time to actually elevate, it's so much stuff holding that other person back, which in return holds you back as well. So I think when people
Mm,
get together, whether it's for love or friendship, even with
mhm,
friendship, you both have to be on the same page as far as, if we're going to be friends, I don't need you to be in the street and I'm up here trying to be in the corporate world because that don't mix. I
it
don't need
doesn't.
I don't need to be young black riding a Mercedes Benz because I can afford it and you riding with me, but you got the gun on you and you got drugs on you and the cops see us riding in the Benz. I'm legit, but you not. So now they pull us over. You got guns and you got drugs on you. So that's important to be able to understand and know who you are really going to be with as far as friends and a relationship.
Okay. That was a good comparison about the gun in the car and you in the bins.
I mean, I thought it might have
That
been a little off, but
no, it explained it well. We're on like, how does that work? And if
yeah.
they get caught with you, go down with them.
I mean,
You're
y'all both definitely go to
not going
jail.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're both
Until that
so
person say, "Hey, he had nothing to do with
do it.
it."
So I don't have nothing to do with it. Yeah. So, oh, there was something else. W- So, what happens when there is like you can use this in relationship, marriage, any type
Hmm.
of relationship, when one person is battling with mental health.
Hmm.
Now, mental health, which it's a really tough thing, and everybody experiences it different. A lot of times with Black men being depressed and stuff, you guys kind of you're functional. You might
Mhm.
not even know that you're depressed. You're kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Statistically, you guys are just going through the motions.
Mhm.
Um, so with that, what if you have one partner or a friend that doesn't relate? How can they be supportive and how can they communicate with the other person who is dealing with mental health issues?
I believe in, let's say, a relationship. You have to be, each person has to be a teacher and a student. So
Mhm,
there has to be, you have to play both roles from both sides. You got to be willing to be able to be taught, and you got to be able to teach. Because if you see your spouse going through things, and that person is actually telling you, or not even telling you, but is showing you, what could be the triggers behind those things that they're going through, you
mhm,
have to be a student. You have to learn, like, okay, every time this trigger happens, that person does this. So now I'll be the student, study it, find out, what causes those triggers, and ask, how can I help you with those triggers?
mhm,
What can we do to get over that? If it's, is it something that I'm doing? Am I, when we have conversations, is my tone a little bit too loud, which is triggering you maybe back to your childhood when your dad was yelling at your mom
mhm.
and possibly beating her? Do you think that
Mm,
my tone is, relatable to that tone? And so I think those things right there, you have to really pay attention to that person or your spouse, and really figure out what's going on. But at the same time, your spouse has to be willing to be able to let you in and be able to be open with you and say, yes,
mhm.
I know a lot of people who they hide things from their past, from their significant other, because they don't want to be judged.
Ooh, yeah.
And I disagree with, I see why, but I disagree with it, because if I'm your spouse, I want you to open up to me about everything. We both should be open to, opening up to each other about everything, so that when certain situations come along, I'm not alarmed. I'm not caught, by the blind side. You know,
Mhm,
if we're out and we're at the grocery store and you see a couple and a guy raising his voice at a lady, that could be triggering.
mhm,
And you start doing weird things, and I'm like, what you doing that for? Like, me and my mom, I'm like,
mhm,
they arguing. It's an
mhm.
argument, but to that person. So I
Mhm.
don't know if I answered your question, per se,
Yeah.
but I definitely know that you have to be willing to just look and really pay attention to your significant other when it comes down to trying to help with mental health, because some people are not just going to say, hey, this
Mm-mm.
is what's going on through. And I think that's the biggest issue with mental health things too. Is like, people, either they don't know or they know, and they feel like they can't talk to anybody about it because, one, they're not going to listen, or two, they might not give them the help that they need, or three, they might feel judged.
100%. I was just thinking, the word that came up was shame. Like if I tell my partner these things that are like sacred in my heart that I've kept to myself, um, will they be thrown back in my face later if I do something? We get, those arguments happen. Well,
Yeah.
that's why that will I be judged? And it
Hmm.
might be something that, you're ashamed of, that you even have these feelings or whatever has caused these things. Whatever trauma caused it, you might be ashamed to even talk about it. So that's why communication and just allowing us to feel safe with each other.
And that's the biggest thing right there, is feeling safe, feeling safe. But then on the individual as well, I believe that you have to be able to accept the world and what it is. Um, you have to be able to accept knowing that people are going to have their own opinion,
For
whether
sure.
you like it or not. Um, you have some people who would agree on how you felt if for whatever reason you didn't want to say anything about, the issues that you had going on, some people will, say, okay, I understand why she didn't. But then you will have people who will say, well, that was stupid, you should say it. And
Right. Well,
I think you just need to, that person needs to just have a conversation with themselves and just say, this is my story, this is
mhm,
who I am, and I don't care what, anybody thinks about it. And that's how I deal with mine. I deal with it
mhm,
as I am me. I only person I can control really, to the full extent, is myself.
yes.
And that helps me realize, like, okay, it's your story, own it, be true to yourself, and try to just be organic with a lot of things you do in life.
Mhm. And a lot of times, like before we get in these relationships, you have that period of getting to know each other and having these we don't have a lot of conversations sometimes because we're into the lovey-dovey and the lust part, but it's very important to have these conversations, know about each other's past. I'm the type of person I don't want to, let's say I meet a guy and he's telling me about his past relationships, and I
Hmm.
don't want to continuously have a conversation about that because my fear is trauma bonding. I
Hmm.
don't want to bond over bad stuff that happens to us. We can have some conversations and have an understanding, but I would prefer, like, at some point, can we like move forward? I get afraid of trauma bonding. That's what I get afraid of. We're just all these bad things happen to us, and that's what's pulling us together.
Well, I'm
Um,
a person. Go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's just the only thing. And sometimes I meet people that haven't like worked through stuff, and that gets scary because I'm like, I'm not. I can be here to support you, but I can't. I can't heal your trauma. We talk about I
Oh
can't
yeah.
heal it, but I can
No.
support you. I can be there for you. But are you equipped for us to go in this serious manner? Is there some things you need to deal with first?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, and then those situations too. Like I said, I'm the type of person, I like all honesty. Um,
Hmm.
I like you to be yourself. I like you to be upfront, and I think more people need to be like that. The
Hmm.
reason why I say that is because, like you just said, if a person does get with you and all they want to talk about is their past trauma, past relationships, this bad stuff that went on. In my mind, if I'm sitting down with a girl and we're dating and she's telling me all this stuff, I
Hmm.
see who you are now. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like, you're giving me a heads up on, okay, do
Right.
I want to pursue or do I not? Because those are going to
Yes.
come up whether you talk about it now or whether you don't talk about it now, and months, years go by and y'all are serious, and then they start coming out. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, you done wasted your time when this conversation could have been, we could have had this conversation in the beginning, which would have allowed you to be like, okay, do I really want to continue to see this guy or do I not?
Right.
But
And that's what
back,
I look at too. Like if I
yeah,
see that, I'm like, oh wow, we can't get past this. Like he's not. Then I'm like, that might be a little too much for me because I'm at a
yeah,
different place.
yeah. And who wants to come down? Like, I'm big in energies, and that's pulling negative energy, and that I don't like that. I would rather have positive energy. Um, so, and that's one thing I use is the energy to kind of like determine who I want to be around and who I want to deal with. But um back to the question that you had asked, though, you had said something that was important. In the beginning, I think for young men, I think it's
Mhm,
very important for us to really start evaluating the lady. Um, because y'all got it down packed to a science. Y'all got it down packed. I mean, y'all, you get with that right lady, she checking into 401ks, insurance, your job, like they got it to a science. Um, Let a guy come approach you and y'all get to talking, you gonna know everything about him within the first week.
mhm,
um, Us on the other end, I think we're so caught up in being the one who has to show and prove ourselves as to why you want to be with us, and we do that and we
mhm,
forget we forget that
Mm,
in the beginning, if she likes you, she likes you. If you like her, you like her. Y'all both have something in common. Work towards that, but at the same time, don't forget that
mhm.
you gotta listen to how she talk. Listen to how she talk about her father. Listen to how she talk about her mother. Listen to how she talk about
Mm,
the men that she interact with in her life. Listen
mm.
about, if she's saying, "Oh, you gonna do this, you gonna do that." That's too many. You gonna do this in one paragraph in one conversation. I gotta do all of this. Like we can't do all of this. So I think for young men who are pursuing women or a woman to be, you know, in their life, it's something that they need to really think about, and that will help them in the long run too.
That's true.
Definitely.
That's true. Because women, we do got it. We look at all those things, and so that is
Down to the
important.
genes, the genetics. Down to the genetics. I got it down pat.
And family like matters to like kind of understand like family background and family dynamics of the person
Hmm.
that you're like pursuing. I mean, I wouldn't say their family life, no one's family life is perfect. Like,
No.
example, mine was not, but as I've gotten older, my family life is actually really good now. But there was
Hmm.
a journey, a long journey to get there.
Yeah.
And so just looking at the other person's, like, do they speak to their family? There could be good reasons why they don't, but just really just getting into that, because how does that affect us building a family together? And how some people family isn't as important, and then to one person family can be important, and
Yeah.
sometimes family can be too involved. And sometimes family's not involved enough.
It's definitely a subject that is very touchy because,
It
like you
is.
say, you have some people who come from a background with no love, and then
Mhm.
you meet somebody who did come from a background of love, and then it's that kind of conflict as to, okay, who is right and who is wrong. You can always say like I come from a family of love, and this is what we did, and then this person was like, well, we didn't do that in my family. So just because you come from love doesn't mean it is right. In my mind, I would say yes, because it's love. Who
Mhm.
doesn't want to be loved? Who doesn't want to have a supporting, background or supporting family that loves them? But then you have some people, like I said, who don't move off of love,
No.
and that's okay. That's
Right.
not to downplay them, but it has to be a median. So you got to meet somewhere, and I believe love trumps a little bit more, but that's just from my
I do
own
too. And me
opinion.
too, and I think we love different. I think men and women can love different, and I think if we understood that about each other, even people love different. What I need is not somebody else's need. It's
So
still love,
the
but
funny thing about that is that I like last 3 or 4 years ago, I really found out about love languages. So
oh, yes. What's
from
your
a
love
person,
language?
I'm an affectionate person. Like
Mhm,
affectionate touch. That's me. But it was one of those things to where I was told to my face, like, you need to know my love language. And I was like, okay, what's that? So, me coming from a family of love, thinking that I know, everything, it was a slap to my face because it was like, okay, yeah, love is like
mhm,
essential to life, but you don't know there's multiple ways to love. And I was like,
mhm.
damn, really? So I had to be taught, you know, I think it's like seven of them.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know mine is words of affirmation and
Hmm.
quality time.
Okay. See,
So,
yeah. So,
though, I you can tell me, like, let's say someone did all the things that showed love to them. I do this for you. I do that. I ask how your day is. But I'm like, you don't tell me you love me. All that trumps because I need to hear that I'm loved. Those stuff matter. I see that you're doing it, but I have to, my brain, it's like a chemical in your mind. I have to hear it.
yeah,
And sometimes other people like don't understand if someone says, I need physical touch. And you're like, but I do this, but I do that. In their brain, they're like, I understand that. So it's just us understanding each other instead of trying to like fight each other. No, this is the way I do it and this is how I show it. That's why I
Mhm.
love the love languages, because you can take the test, you and another person can take the test, and it's a way to understand how they feel loved.
I was given a book.
Oh, I didn't read the book. I know there's a book. I didn't read the book. I took a test.
Yeah, I was given a book, and
Oh, you're ahead.
yeah, I was given a book, and it was circled like the things that she the her love languages, and I was like, oh, okay, never knew that that was a thing, but that's something that I've learned, and it's cool. It's good to know those things
Mhm.
because
And
it just helps.
I like that more, like when I hear men have taken it, because um to know their love languages, sometimes it is kind of like about how we feel, but it's nice to know, like, men have feelings is what I'm saying, and maybe sometimes that gets
We do,
forgotten. It's
we
kind of
do.
messed up.
It's one of those things to where women move off emotions, right?
Yes.
Y'all move off emotions. Um, and with that being said, is that
Let's say
everything?
most. Let's not do a blanket statement. Maybe some
No, no,
don't.
no.
Generally.
Generally, no, I mean, I think
Yeah.
but it's not a bad thing though,
It's
because
not
that's
bad,
just
yeah.
how, yeah, that's just how you guys are built, and
Yeah.
that's just being honest. Like, there's
Yeah.
no shame in it. There's nothing wrong with moving off emotion. Actually, you know, um, if you can control your emotions and move off, that's great.
I agree.
That's a skill that is very great to have. And the thing about it is that we are not designed to move off emotion, and it's showing nowadays because a lot of these young guys, they are moving off emotions, and it's landing them in jail. It's landing them in the grave. Um,
Mm.
Women are saying things to them, and because they're moving off emotion, they're beating women. So a lot of the emotion side or emotions are definitely starting to flare up in a lot of men nowadays. But if you notice from back in the day, like men back in the day, they didn't speak about nothing. Like I had a grandfather who was just stone cold, he was born 1913, so he didn't really express his feelings at all. Like whatever he was going
Mm.
through, you didn't understand it. He didn't speak on it. He was just, "Urgh." And he had his moments when he was cool, but he didn't really open up, and I don't think he had anyone to open up to. I was too young to really talk to him about it before he passed,
Mhm.
but just thinking about it, it was like okay. But now you start to see more men be able to open up, be able to express some emotions, not to where we need to be, but we get. I feel like there's some type of movement to a start. Um,
Mhm.
when it comes to us expressing our emotions, expressing our feelings, it's a great line for me. It's a great area, and that gray area is more so men when we are every day. Like right now, I could be sitting here, and if I'm not on your lovely podcast, I'll be thinking about nothing.
Oh,
I just
wow.
sit here. I could be in a room and just be sitting down and not thinking about a damn thing. Or if I'm thinking about something, it's like, who winning this football game right now? Like our mind isn't racing all the time.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you ever went up to a man like and he's just sitting there and he's like, hey, what you thinking about? What they say? What we say?
Nothing.
Nothing. How do you feel when we say nothing? You be like, you gotta be
Like,
thinking about something.
nothing.
Yeah, but it's nothing. And so
My mind's always going. I don't. I wish I wouldn't think.
right, and see that's the thing, like, and I feel like that is the emotion side. Like you guys got to constantly be feeling like you got to do something. Or I don't. I can't speak on the ladies part of it because I really haven't really dissected or actually asked. And maybe I could ask right now. Like,
Mhm.
you said your mind is constantly racing. Like,
Mhm.
is it something that could be controlled? Like, can you sit down and just be like, let me just decompress and not think about anything right now?
I have to. it has to be intentional. It's not like
Hmm.
it's just going to automatically happen. Like I always make this joke, like, after work and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go stare at a wall. Like I'm
Mm.
really going to go stare at a wall and not like talk talk or anything. How far, however long that lasts, but I have purposely like training my mind to do that. Otherwise, I'm
Okay.
thinking about what I'm gonna do next, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about look, I be thinking about how I'm gonna be a better person. Oh, that
Hmm.
was kind of messed up what I said earlier. I wonder if they were offended by that. Like it just like it goes on and on.
I think for me, what's done is done. Like it might be sometimes some things we probably look or we will reflect on and say, okay, maybe I went too hard. But I think in my situation, it's probably like my son or
Mhm,
my family at home is like, okay, I may have said something, to the wifey bad, and I'm like, maybe I should have changed that, or I could have
mhm.
said something to my daughter. I noticed my daughter is 2, and I raised my voice at her, and I almost cried. That was like the one time I sat down. I was like, all right, man, hold on, let's think about what you said. But other than that, no, I think for the most part, I kind of just collect my thoughts and just leave it at that.
I want to be
Like,
more like trying to do that, collect my thoughts. Like I can have a time and collect it and leave it.
mhm.
Because it's exhausting for your brain to be running. You're like, oh,
Yeah, you gotta rest it, and that's what I think. I think that for women at some point when you guys are able to rest and decompress, you get the better version of yourself because you're able to think freely or think clearly, I should say. You're not
mhm.
your mind isn't always racing. You know, anything is always constantly going. You need a break, and once you give it that break and give it that chance to rest,
Yeah. And I think about women that have families. I'm sure their brain is always going. Like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. And I'm just a single person and I'm doing that. I'm like, oh, I know she tired. I know she tired. Oh,
yeah.
yep. So we have a comment, okay, from uh, so Bree. She
Hmm.
said, that's why self-care is important. Amen. Rest is key.
Rest
And then I
is
think what she was saying about when I was saying about, when you have a family, you're probably like going and going even more so. And she said, Lord, always.
and for women that is definitely, I think in my experience, having to understand that the lady in the family, they your mind is always constantly because you got the kids, you got
Uh-huh.
kids, household, and then you have the husband.
Yep.
And I think, how can I put this? So we don't require a lot of attention as you guys think we do. Like, do you believe that men require a lot of attention?
Um, I
Like,
I think they require attention.
yeah, yeah,
I
but
can't just yeah, I think they require attention. Maybe not as much as I would personally need. And I think it depends on the man because you do have needy men.
right, right. It could be needy men out there who needs, their wife
Or I don't
attention.
like to say the word needy. They just have needs, I guess.
Okay. Uh,
So you tell me
I
how
mean,
much
so when
like
I so like hearing stories from my cousins that are married, from my wife that when it comes to their mind and their everyday activities when it comes to the family, you would say, "Oh, I got to deal with the kids. Oh, I have to deal with home. Oh, I have to deal with this. Then I got to deal with the husband." But for the most part, like my cousin, she's always like, "I got to put my husband first. I got to put my husband first." And me per se, I'm like, I don't think you have to put me first. I'm here. Like as long as I get our time, when the kids are asleep or, when you've rested and you're up and you're like, hey, I have time to go sit down with you or, chit chat with you or this. From a husband standpoint, as long as we know the house is safe and
Hmm.
taken care of, I think, and we know that we're loved, like, show your love language to him. So if you're busy and everything, hey, I love you. A quick text message. If my words is,
Hmm.
if I'm, what is mine? What did I just say mine was?
What yours is
Affection,
physical
affection,
touch
affection,
and affection.
physical
Affection.
touch. Yeah. So if you walk past me and I'm on my laptop doing something, you rub my shoulder or my head, that's all I need. A quick little brush past me and you just touch me. I'm like, okay, she loved me, you know? And that's similar to how women are when they're in the kitchen. I know you see the memes on Instagram and a husband walk past their wife and he slap her on the booty. And they,
Uh-huh.
they like that. I
Yeah.
think that's, it's that type of situation. Like just that little touch
I like
shows that.
that.
I seen we had a comment. I didn't get a
Yeah, let
chance.
me show you. Sorry. I've lifted it up before while you were talking, my bad. Okay, so Bree said, I think what helps is knowing my husband understands my brain, never stops. And he emphasizes that it takes time to appreciate me and help me with the load. But it also is up to me to communicate my needs.
Oh,
Boom.
okay. So I when you were saying when I was reading when you were reading the comment in the beginning, I was like, okay. I've always had an issue with women thinking men are supposed to know, like we're supposed to actually read your mind and just know. Um, because in a situation to where it's been things to where I've read or I tried reading my wife and it was the wrong read. And it was like, well, shoot, I thought it was that. So you can't get mad because I tried, but it was just the wrong thing. So I've always was the one to say, well, why don't you express your needs? Hey, baby, I'm tired, but the dishes need to be clean, the kids need to be fed, the dog needs to be taken out. Fine, baby, go lay down. I have you. I got you.
Hmm.
Go rest. No problem. But if you walk in this house and in your mind you're tired, your kids need to eat, dishes need to be washed, dog needs to be let out, and you walking around the house with this look on your face like you're tired, but I don't receive it and I don't do anything, and you continue to do this stuff, and now you're angry because I didn't read it. Am I the one that's supposed to be like, should you be mad at me or mad at yourself because you didn't verbally speak up and say, hey, take care of this, do
But
this?
some people are like, you see all this chaos is going on. They should
Mhm.
be like, you should like no and help me. So what do you say to that? Because that's the other mind frame of it. Like you see all
That's
this is
the
going on.
that's the thing. I don't see what you see. That's what women don't understand. Like, not no, I'm not saying like, okay, so if you hear the kids getting crazy and they out of line, like, fathers, we're gonna step in, hey, what's going on?
Mhm.
We get that, hey, and everything stop. What's going on? So I'm not speaking from a hostile environment like the kids is going
Right.
crazy. Because if you come home from work and let's say the kids is chilling, they playing their games, reading a book or doing homework, and let's say I come in the house, I come home, the whole household is chill. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go ahead and take off my shoes, relax for a minute. But the wifey done had a long day, she didn't really we didn't talk on the phone, you just had a long day. And how am I supposed to know that you're exhausted? You're having a long day without you telling me. Like you should
Right.
be able to tell me. Because if I come home and I don't have a long day, whew, babe, I had a long day at work. I was supposed to pull the grill out and grill today. You think you could throw some tacos on or something? Like I'm gonna definitely express because I don't want you to guess. I feel like that's wrong to have your partner guessing how you might
Mhm.
be or how you might feel.
Well, you're not a
It's,
mind reader.
I mean, I wish I could, because then it'd be cool points for me.
We do have another question. So the
Uh-huh.
question was from Selena Malley. She said, "So do you have training in mental health in the mental health field?"
As far as professional training, no, I don't have that. But I have a few people in my family that I talk to. That one is a therapist, and I speak with him often, and just listening to how he talks about things and situations that he's helped me with. Um, I feel like I've helped a lot of my friends go through rough times, and just having them open up and see the bigger picture as far as, it's okay to go through what you're going through, but sit
Hmm.
back and kind of think about how you want to go through those situations.
Hmm.
Understand what the situation is, who you really are, and be honest with yourself.
Yeah. And then one thing I want to add with mental health, because it's in all, there's different like levels to it. Now, obviously, there's people who have like really bad chemical imbalances, like schizophrenia.
Hmm.
They're dealing with bipolar and those things. So those that's not kind of what we're talking about, because those do have to be dealt with
You have to
differently.
have professional. Yeah, you
You
should
have
have
to have professional help. Yeah, you,
professional help for that one.
yeah. And then even sometimes with some of us going through the motions, it's okay. Go to a therapist, go to counseling, whatever is going to get you to where you need to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
I would
Well,
definitely speak to men and tell them, if you feel like you need therapy, go see a
mhm.
therapist. You know, you got a lot of men out here who think the macho thing is to just deal with it on their own. Um, no, go out there and get you some help.
Yep.
Get you some help. Talk to somebody. You got something else?
Yep, I got another one for you. All right, Bridget Giles. I hear what you're saying. However, when a mom is staying at home with the kids and when daddy gets home, it is nice for him to clock in and let us have a break. We shouldn't have to ask for help.
And no, you're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. In that you shouldn't have to ask for help all the time. um, you shouldn't have
Yep.
to ask for help. And there are times to where I think that's the communication that you guys have to have.
Hmm.
Within that, with every relationship, every marriage is different. You know,
Hmm.
um, some women stay at home, and some men work all the time. In that incident, I don't think that a man should have to come home from work after working, Monday through Friday, and you don't work and take care of the home. But if both are working, I feel like you guys should have a system to where nobody is on overload. One person helps out this day, the other person helps out that day to kind of keep the balance.
So to piggyback off of that, if the mom stays at home, the dad
Hmm.
works, is there any point where she does get a break from
Yeah,
household things, like
yeah,
the
and that's the
balance of
point.
that?
Yeah, and I feel like at that aspect, that's more of a, you should be willing to open up and say, hey, when you get home from work, can you do X, Y, and Z? I'm not, feeling it today, because
Yeah.
everybody goes through it,
Hmm.
even at work. Like, people check out at work.
All the
But-
time. Bridget had a second part. She goes, I do understand we must communicate, but there is a difference between communicating and always having to ask a spouse to do things.
uh, there is a difference. I'll give you that. There's definitely a difference. But see, the thing about it to me is that I don't feel like asking is people make asking a bad thing. Like, they give it a negative feel. Like, oh, I have to ask you to do this. I have to ask you to do that. I I don't mind asking. I would
Hmm.
ask. I grew up asking questions because that's how you learn, and that's how you
Hmm.
maneuver through life. Um, if we are a team, I would rather ask for help than to just think that you're going to help me, because I feel like you're getting on two separate pages at that point.
Mhm.
Ask me so we could be on the same page. Or tell me. Ask or tell me. You ain't got to ask. Hey, I'm tired. You got the dishes tonight. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And there are times to where, like I said, some men come to the house and be like, "You look like you're sleepy. You look like you're tired." And then that sparks that conversation for you to be like, "Yeah, I am. Can you do this? Can you do that?" And at the end of the day, you're still asking because I just asked. Well, I didn't ask. I just assumed that you were tired. But at the same time, if I can look at you and tell you that you're tired, and you can say, "Yes, I am," you can ask me to do this, this, and that as well. Because I might, for instance, okay, I came home one day and I was like, you know what? My wife had just told me that she was tired about, she was tired from doing something and she would love to come home and have the toys picked up, this done, that done. And so I did everything, right? And she
Mhm.
come home, she was like, the number one thing that I wish you would have done was just clean the bathroom. I didn't clean up the front room, cleaned the kitchen, cleaned the back room, and walked right past the bathroom.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Well, I would rather you clean the bathroom than this room." And I'm like, "Well, I cleaned up the other rooms. Can you, give me some slack on that?" And it's one of those things to where it's like, well, if she would have just said, "Hey, can you clean the whole house up for me?" Then maybe I would have cleaned that bathroom, and then we would have been good. It would have been no problems. So I don't know. I think that asking is not a bad thing because it gets straight to the point.
I got a couple more comments for you. So
Mhm.
Selena Malley, she said, and there's also a difference between talking to someone and talking at them.
Hmm.
And
Talking to someone and talking at them. What do you think about that?
I think there's a difference as well. I think if someone's just like for me, if you're just kind of just telling me to do this, you're just, but not listening to me, I feel like you're talking at me. You're not listening to me. So I think I've had people like in relationships tell me like, what I need to do, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, dude, I'm grown. Like, talk to me. Don't like,
Don't okay,
well,
so yeah,
you should have did this. You should have said it that way, bro. Okay. And then I start to shut down instead of us just talking about what the communication breakdown is or understanding maybe I didn't receive it that way or that's not or vice versa or they're not even looking at it the same way I am. As
and
understanding more than
I'm
trying to get your
learning.
point across.
Okay, I see where you're going with it. And
Mhm.
yes, the difference, and I think that's something that both sides need to understand as well too, because there were certain situations to where things were said differently, which sparked the argument, and then during that argument, the correct thing was said, and it was like, well, why didn't you say that in the first place, or why didn't you say it that way in the first place to eliminate, the argument? And now it gets to well, now you're trying to tell me what I should say. And it's like, I'm not trying to tell you what you should say, but if you had said that in the beginning, it would have stopped the argument of what we were having. So I
That's
don't know. That's a
it's not
nice question.
simple.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah,
simple. It's not
it's
simple. And
not simple.
as men, we have to understand too that, like you said, ladies, you guys move off emotion, so we have to be able to tap in with our feminine side and to be able to understand it and scoop down. I'm not gonna say scoop down, but be able to move to that level that you guys are at to be able to understand. Like, okay, they don't mean no harm. They got a lot going on, and we have to understand, and we have to be able to work together to be able to move as one. And
Mhm.
for a man, that could be hard. That's letting some, our tapping into your feminine side as a man. To a lot of men, that's hard. That's very hard.
Yeah, I got some good ones for you in the
Mhm.
chat. So Bridget said, basketball, football. We pass the
Mhm.
ball, no asking. The teammate is looking for the ball. And then also, what did she say? Men.
Man talking.
Oh, we got, yeah. So men talking to men. A plus B equals C. Oh, you us. That's not. And then I like this one. Y'all usually speak facts. We speak with emotions. That's what we were talking about
I've
earlier.
always said we're more of a simple-minded species, like you just said, A plus B equals C, and I think that's really the disconnect. I'm glad you said that. That was pretty good because facts and emotion. We're gonna argue our facts. Y'all gonna argue y'all emotions. Where do we meet in the middle? And to
Married
me, that's
folks, get in there. Where do y'all meet in the middle on this? Anyone leave a comment. But Corey, what do
yeah.
you
I want to
think?
know where do we meet in the middle with this? And I feel like, and it's kind of hard because, like you said, men, we, to be honest with you, if we're supposed to not really move off emotion, a lot of stuff shouldn't really bother us. So we should be like, okay, I have an uncle who was pretty much, he took care of his wife, my auntie, and he told me, he was like, she gonna always be right. And when he told me that, I was like, you a strong man. Like, I want that from, like, I want to be able to say my wife is always right. Because he was like, I'm not equipped to argue. He was like, I would never argue. I would never win an argument with my wife, no matter what the facts might be. And to me, I feel like facts, not all facts are correct, but facts are what they are. We sat here, we thought about it. A plus B equals C, and that's a fact. The emotional side of it might not be real because you got a lot of emotions playing into it. You feel this way about it, this person feels that way about it. Who is right in that case? If you get
But
into an
does it
argument,
have to be right and wrong? It's how I felt. Like if I felt like you hurt my feelings, we can argue it. You still hurt my feelings. I mean, that's just where we're at. So why argue with me about you hurting my feelings? That's how I felt. You could say you didn't,
but that, but that,
instead of,
but that's a fact right there, though. That
that is a fact, true.
that's a fact. I hurt your feelings. That's a fact. I was thinking more so of what situation can I think of to where it's more so of an emotional feeling, but not a fact. It didn't hit me, but yeah, I think that's a fact. If I hurt your feelings, then I hurt your
Mhm.
feelings, and I should be apologize. I should apologize.
I got a question for you. Well, they said, how do you feel about compatibility? That's from Sam.
Mm, uh, I like it. I think that really plays a big factor in who you're with. If you're compatible with a person, it makes things a lot easier. I think it makes things a lot more organic. It makes you able to open up a lot more, knowing that you're able to relate with this person more to
Hmm.
say, if that answers it.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, I,
And another thing with compatibility, have you thought about this? Like, we're all not going to match perfectly, right? There's
mhm.
always going to be an off, but the overall, can I accept the things that are kind of quirks or maybe get on my nerves about you? Maybe not. If they never change that, can I still be with you? I know he's never going to put that toilet seat down. It's not going to, I can tell him 50 million times. Can I still, that's just a small thing. You get what I'm saying? I'm just using an example. Can I
Yeah,
still be with that person? It's worth it to me. I can live with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's noble. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm the type of husband that come in and take my socks off and throw it on my side of the room. Wife hates it. She hates it. That's something that from since we met, she hates it. But I guess we still here, so she deals with it. She looks the other way. I mean, I can't say she looks the other way, but I mean, I don't know. I haven't even spoken to her about that, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
think it's just something that she just deals with. But um, yeah.
yeah, that's I got another one for you. Okay. That's where those are those heart level conversations where there is a safe space. God, we're segueing into it. We need to learn each other's love languages because we
Mm,
receive better when our tank is full.
yeah.
So I that is really good because if I know I'm loved by this person and they
Mm-hmm.
meet my needs, and when we get into those things, at the end of that, I know he loves me.
Yeah.
We're gonna be fine. Like it's not
It's about
that.
that foundation, man. So every
Yes.
relationship needs a strong foundation. I'm a firm believer in that. In
And
the beginning, you guys, you have to have a foundation of, all right, if we go through tough times, we know that we fall down, this foundation that we created, that we built, we could bounce back from.
yes. And just know, like, and I know some people are watching, certain people I know that are watching, like a couple of my friends that have um had issues in their marriages and they have been able to, that foundation has brought them back to restore and rebuild. So there's a couple people I've witnessed that. And Bridget Giles says, at the end of the day, nothing, at the end of the day, nothing changes. Can you be with them forever? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. If nothing changes,
Mm-hmm.
there's some, yeah, you have to decide that. That's like a personal choice. And that's what it's good getting to know a person up front, asking all those questions. You collect all your data on them. Can I
Mm-hmm.
still, if they never change these things, can I
Can
still
you
be
sit
here?
there? I mean, you should.
Yes.
You should be able to be there. I mean, because that's who you met, right?
Right.
I mean, if nothing changes, like at all, as far as like that person, is am I getting that correct?
Yes. Like if there's anything with them that, excuse me, just whatever it is, like even just in the stages of laying those foundations before you fully commit or be fully walk into marriage. And there's some things, I don't want to call them red flags because we say red flags, but if those things and you're thinking we can work on that, if it never
Mm-hmm.
changed, could you still stay there? I think those are things you need to ask yourself beforehand and be honest with yourself. Can you? Because some things are deal breakers for people or they don't have the capacity for it.
Yeah. I feel like you should be able to still be with them
Hmm.
if nothing changes, because you know what you signed up for. You know who you met. You know
Right.
who you got into this relationship with. So I feel like if nothing changed, you should still be able to be with them. In my aspect, unless, I mean, as far when you say change, it's really kind of getting me as far as like we're talking about personality wise, or are we talking about
Um,
growth as far as like,
growth, behavior,
mm-hmm,
um, behavior.
mm-hmm,
Like I'll say this. Let's say, okay, I'll put something that's kind of like I know I don't have the capacity, and people kind of get weird when I say this. If I was like dating a guy, we're in the dating part, right?
mm-hmm,
And he said that, okay, I had a problem with substances.
mm-hmm,
And you know what goes along with that? There's relapses. That's normal in
right,
all these things. I have to think if he, before going any further, if I were to be in a marriage things, there's a chance he could relapse. And I could go through these ups and downs because he's always struggled with this. Could I be with him despite?
you got to. You
I
made that vow. I mean,
Well, this
I'm
is
not
before
saying
you
you
make
got
the
to.
vow. This is before you make the vow. You know this beforehand.
Uh-huh.
That's why we need to like start thinking, can we accept certain things before we like
Yeah,
are full
you
in?
gotta put that into
Yeah,
consideration. I feel
yeah.
like that's a question to where before you proceed with anything further with that person,
Mhm.
do you sit down and think about a possible relapse?
Yes.
And this goes back to saying like people have to be we have to sit down and you have to study the person that you really want to be with. You really have to. Like it's that serious, especially nowadays because there's so many things going on.
Hmm.
Sit down and take it back old school. Get you a what do they call those lists? The pros and cons list.
Right.
Write down all the pros out of it, write down all the cons out of it, and see if that's where you want to continue to go.
You know,
Because once you say I do to that person, despite anything that that person had going on, you're accepting all of that. You're accepting it
okay.
all. So
Yeah.
once you, yeah, that's
So
important.
it's like just important to have like these, because I would say for me that's kind of like a, I would probably, no, I probably wouldn't go that direction. That's because I have my own stuff with it. It's nothing
Hmm.
personally to do with them, but I don't know if I have the I know I don't have the capacity. I've already gone down this road.
Right. And you shouldn't have to go do it again.
And I don't have anything else to give to it. So I probably wouldn't be a good companion to you anyways in that sense. But having
And
those
then
conversations
actually,
up front.
yeah, and but then you say if you actually went down that road before, it makes it easier to identify,
No,
right?
it doesn't. Oh, well, no. I went
No, to
through it
identify the
to deal
situation.
with it.
No, 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 not to deal with it, but
Okay.
so if you went down that road before and then you meet somebody else who mimics that road, you've been down it, so you know the trauma, you know what it can cause. So
Mhm.
it's easy to identify knowing that that's not what you want anymore. Like that's not
100%.
what you're looking for. So it's
100%.
easier to be able to back out of that and be like, okay, nope, been down that road before. Let me back out of this right now.
Okay. I have another question for you.
Okay.
Okay. They got you. We lighting up in here. Okay. They're
Busy.
getting on you. So imagine if she said, imagine if you stop throwing those socks on the floor without her having to have that conversation. Super mom. My question for you is, if you know she hates it, why do you continue to do it? Corey, my people are liking
No,
you up in here.
that's cool,
I'm
man. No,
playing.
no, that's
I'm
cool.
playing.
That's cool.
It's all
No, that's
fun.
not, nah,
It's good
I like
conversation.
it.
It really is.
Great conversation. Great conversation. It's nothing that I know I can't stop. Like, okay, I can stop it if I want to, but most times it's more of a I get into bed and I just kick my socks off and then it just falls on the floor. But um I've gotten better with it, and she's told me what she did was she just put a basket on my side of the room. She thinks she's slick. She put a basket on my side of the room. So I just take the socks off and throw them in there. But one might make it, the other one might fall out. So I don't know why I don't stop, man. Maybe I should. I never really thought of it being a big deal. I mean, at the end of the day, I clean my side of the room up, so it's not like she picking the socks up. I'm picking the socks up, but I'm cleaning everything else. I might make sure my closet stay clean, my shoes is up, the house is clean. So I think for me, I feel like because I am that organized person throughout the rest of the house, that's my one area to where I just okay, it's a soccer too.
It's a soccer
So
too.
yeah, because I
Right. I
know
have
I know it's husbands out there who trifling everywhere throughout the house. Toilet seats up.
I'm, I love it.
I'm clean out the rest of the house. It's just the socks. So, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Got another question for you.
Uh-oh.
It's from Dress Up Mayhem. Sounds
Hmm.
like you have a good marriage. What do you and your wife do to help keep y'all growing together? Like therapy, books, hanging with other married folks, and weekly dates, date nights, etc.
Every marriage has its ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
We have our ups and downs, and we go through certain things. So, um, thanks for the comments for saying we looks like I have a good marriage. Um, as far as the things that we do, can you bring that back up again? That
Oh
question back
yeah,
up.
because it was. Let me put it back up for you.
Yeah. What do you and wife do to help keep your growing together? Um, it's a funny question. It's funny that you asked that because right now it's a little rocky, so I can't really ask or answer. What we do to keep things growing together. but we have done therapy before. That helps. So I can
Hmm.
definitely tell people that therapy, helps. We've hung out with other married folks, but we stopped doing that because you can't hang out with everybody. Everybody's marriage is different. And down here, the married folks that we hung out with were some weird stuff. So um we didn't, we don't hang out with too many married folks. We have 3 kids, so weekly date nights is kind of hard. We try to do them, but we just actually had one last night. Wouldn't call it a
Oh.
weekly date night, but a friend had a birthday party, and we were able to get rid of the kids and go to the birthday party. So that was pretty cool. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, I derive as far as the what helps keep y'all growing together aspect. I would like to say sitting down having weekly meetings about where you want to go in life or where do we want to go in our marriage, keeping that fresh. I would like to say working on each other as an individual, whether
Hmm.
that's letting go of baggages that we have or
Hmm.
growing with each other and just talking about certain interests that we either gained or want to learn. So, I mean, that's really all I got for you in that
Man,
aspect. Yeah.
I got another one for you. So this is from Bridget Giles. How important is it to you to take the lead and plan a date with no input from her?
Oh, that's important. That's
Hmm.
something that that's very important. That keeps things fresh. That keep in my eye that keeps you looking like Superman to the lady. To be able to just spontaneously say, "Hey, I'm one of the people that I would like to be able to go buy maybe a little outfit, hang it up in the closet, and then shoot her a text like the kids is gone. I got some plans for us. I got an outfit in the closet for you. Go throw that outfit on. I got something, be ready at this time and let's go out. That's important. And then a lot of thing is that when you say no input from her,
Hmm.
it's really from her. Just listening to like some of the things that she might want to do, you know, whether
Yeah.
it's like Instagram, I know a lot of women they share videos with their significant other, and those videos might show interest in something that she's interested in. So if she's sending you videos of fine dining restaurants, maybe you could find that fine dining restaurant and take her to it. But you didn't have to ask her, you know, you just
Yes.
took it upon yourself to do it.
And then Bridget did have something else. She says, I don't, Living Word Bible Church in Mesa offers date night babysitting on Saturdays at 6 p.m. They feed them and you don't have to pick them up until 9 p.m.
Oh, well, let me write with Bible Church in
Yep,
Mesa.
Living Word. And I used to go there too, and they do. People will go to like service and then to take their kids are in children's church, and then you go have a
How
night.
is the church? Is the church a pretty good church?
Yes, they're good people. It's a good church.
Okay.
I
I know
went there
she's
for
looking for a
4 years.
coach. She's looking for one. So,
It's a very family church. It's family. So it's a good church. Amen. She said amen. He gets it, y'all.
Bridget, thank you.
Yep. Baby said, yep. Dressed up mayhem said yes. Yep, a good church. Yep. I used
Good
to go
church. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go to it because I work on Sundays. So
there. Oh, this is on Saturday.
they on Saturdays? No,
They
church is
have
on
church.
Saturday.
That's the one Saturday, 6 p.m. is when they have the
No, that's
babysitting.
the
So you
key. The babies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
and
actually,
but church is at 5. They have service beforehand. So there's service at 5, and then or Bridget, correct that. It's still service. You would go to service for an hour, and you can leave your kids until 9 in the daycare. This
oh,
is on
okay.
Saturday nights.
I have to look into that. Thank you, Bridget.
So another thing that kind of came up is like a safe space. Um,
Hmm.
for men, like having other men to talk to about all these. things, feelings, mental health, being. Oh, sorry. She said service is at 6 and ends at 7. And then you
Okay.
have 7 to 9, to do whatever, you want to do. But having that safe space, how important is to have those male figures to talk to about being feelings, being vulnerable, and your relationships,
That's that's
fellowship.
major. That's that's major. That is something that I believe if we had more of would change a lot of men in this world. It allow us to open up and be vulnerable to the loved ones in our life. Um, I say that from personal experience because I'm dealing with it living down here in Arizona. I'm
Hmm.
from Detroit, so my father, my brother, my nephew, uncles, they're all in Detroit. And down here, I just have my mom, my sister, wife, kids, and I don't have the 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 male figure to be able to just pull up on and you know sit back, relax, fellowship, have a
Hmm.
drink or a cigar, just talk about nonsense. That means a lot to me. And I think that's very important. We need it more. Every guy needs it, um, especially from a family member, somebody that you can really love, because
Hmm.
men don't open up to other men in the form of love. We open up in the form of masculine things, but as far as love, we don't open up like we should. And I think it's easier to open up when you have a male figure that's related to you that you can
Hmm.
open up to in the form of love.
Is there a way, like, because sometimes maybe we don't have that family member, but we can have a chosen family, or we can
Mhm.
have, so if you don't have a family member, what are ways, well, I'm thinking, what are ways that you can find that group that you can
Oh,
be vulnerable, but especially when you're not even around where people you grew up with, or, you're out here in Arizona. Is that you haven't really found that yet?
no, so I think that that's the issue that most
Mhm,
men have.
mhm,
Um, Now I have a group of friends down here, and to be able to pull up on them and just talk about you know regular stuff that men talk about, cars,
mhm,
uh, women, shooting, and all that type of stuff. Just we
mhm,
do that, but to really have like a conversation with someone of wisdom, someone who's been down the road that you're going, somebody who actually loves you and makes it
mhm.
easy enough for you to open up. And it's just not family, like you said.
Yeah,
I say family because that's easy, but you got the pastor, you have people at church,
yeah.
um, you have some foundations out here that men. But the thing about it is that we don't. A lot of men don't trust.
Mm,
We don't trust easily. We don't open up to other men easily. So we'd get with them and we'd talk and we had these conversations. But then the thing that's deeply on your heart that you want to open up about, it's kind of hard for you to open up about it unless that person knows how to draw it from you.
right.
And most men don't even know how to do that.
Corey, I will say this, at Living Word, I'm plugging them again. They do have a men's group. They do have a men's group. She just said, hold on, this is what Bridget just said. And I knew they did. She said, our church also has a ministry that is called Band of Brothers. It's an all men's group that meet and talk about life, family, church. They meet Thursdays at 7 p.m., starting again next year.
Okay. Look, Bridget, she putting it all out there. She letting
I was waiting for her to say something, and I said it. So we was thinking the same thing, because I was like, Living Word has that too. Oh, Pat G, and this is Bridget's husband is in the chat.
Okay.
He said, because we are afraid that our words could be used against us.
Yeah.
Where men minister to men is in a safe place. He's saying it's when men can minister to men in a safe place, they don't have to be afraid of their words being used against them.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and that's more so without a lot of men worry about is being vulnerable and then having it used against
Yeah. And that's not ever good. We don't want
them.
that.
No, not at all.
So, what is really your takeaway? Like, what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
To be able to seek help if needed, to be able to be honest with yourself. I think that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
If you're honest with yourself, you could be that better version to the loved ones in your life, the people in your life, and you can move easily. You can easily move through life if you know who you are as a person. And
I love it.
yeah, don't
I
let
love
other people, don't let the opinions of other people get to you. That's big too. Like, don't let the
mhm.
thoughts or opinions. I'm sorry.
So, each at the end, I like to end the episode. Oh, Bridget said, "Amen."
Amen. Amen.
um, so I like to end each episode with kind of a game. So I'm going to say like a sentence, and the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay, so one word that best describes you.
Um, High energetic. I like it. I mean, I guess
Nice.
that's 2 words, but yeah.
Don't matter. There's no
It's two
wrangling
words.
between a lot.
Yeah.
What is your theme song?
um, I don't have a theme song. That's crazy. I don't have
You
that
got
one
to come
song
up
in
with
my mind.
one. You got
I
to
gotta
find a
come up
theme
with
song.
one. I,
Not today. If you can't think of one today, that's fine. But you got to have a theme song to hype you up in your mind. What's the song that represents you?
okay. All right. I'll work on that because I
Okay.
don't have one.
What motivates you?
um, Life in itself.
Uh-huh.
Life. Knowing that it's a precious thing, knowing that you only get it once, and knowing that
Mhm,
you got to make the best out of it. That's
mhm.
that's what really motivates me.
Your personal hero?
I'm a personal hero. Oh, you said my personal hero.
Yeah, who's your personal hero?
God, definitely.
Whew.
Yeah, definitely God.
Yeah. What is your wildest dream?
Woo. uh, to be honest with you, my wildest dream is actually something simple, man. I've always wanted to be like the person to give back, like to be able. Every time I see somebody that's going through things, homeless
Mhm.
person on the street, I'm like, if I could just buy like a big old land and build a whole bunch of tiny homes on it to be able to have all these people move in and not have to live on the street. Like, I think of stuff like that. So I think that would be like my wildest dream to be able to do something like that.
And what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Um, I want to leave behind a legacy of truth. I want to be able to my kids and my grandkids to know where they come from. I want them to know that everything that was done for a reason, was done strategic, and know exactly who did it, why it was done, and to keep that
Mhm.
tradition going.
Nice. Your purpose?
Um, I think my purpose is to make people smile, make people laugh, like to get people out of their funk that they're in. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I realized that the other day with a coworker.
And it
Yeah.
made you feel good. You understood. Okay.
She was just every time I see her, she's an older lady. I'm just on my coffee. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and she's just very energetic, and I love it about her. And one day I'm not gonna say one day. I've noticed that she just wasn't herself. Like, she just
Mhm.
wasn't energetic. Her face just looked like it was like this, and she's been coming in like that. So one day I just walked up to her and gave her a hug, and she started crying. And then I said something,
Mhm.
and she started laughing. And then she came back to me the next day and was like, "I really needed that." And now she's like, Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
So,
Oh, yes. I love that. This is a good question.
mhm.
What do you want God to say once your journey is completed here on earth?
Good job. Good
Amen.
job. Job well done.
Job
Job
well
well done.
done, my
That's what
faithful.
that's all I need. That's all I need.
Right.
If I get those words from him, I don't need a paragraph or a sentence. Good job.
I love that. Bridget ended off with thank you for coming on the show to share your truth as a man, Corey. Great show.
Bridget, thank you for those tough questions. Cause now I got some thinking I gotta do. Was prepared for that one, Bridget, but no, thank you, Bridget.
Kept you on your toes today. You didn't even.
Man, what? Drained the
Oh,
battery in my laptop. It was like, ooh, when she came on, the battery started dying a little bit quicker. I was like, uh-oh.
yeah. Well, thank you again, Corey. Um, and thank you for coming on. And I hope you will return in a future date. And we have
No,
other
I'm
things
definitely
going
in
on.
return. I'm gonna have some stuff for you, Bridget. I'm gonna be prepared.
So, guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe, hit the notification button. You don't want to miss another episode of Divine Honey Podcast. Share, please share this episode. If you're interested in, or you know anyone who's interested in being a guest, guys, this is where you can email me. Hold on, let me put my email up
There you go.
at bougiegirl@gmail.com. Or if you have any topics that you would like to for us to discuss on here, you can also email me that. You guys, I'm on everything, y'all. I'm on Instagram, bougiegirl_LLC. I'm on Facebook and TikTok, just bougie girl. Um, yes. So check me out on there. And I'm also on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This recording will be uploaded in a few hours. And you can also go on there. Those links are in the about section, and I'll also put them in the comment section. So go on there and rate. And yeah, I appreciate you guys spending your Sunday with us. And until
Yes.
next time, peace and blessings. And again, thank you, Corey.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, you guys.